Up close tonight, police are on alert. Security tightened in states across the country right now. The reason is letters received by at least 30 state governors warning them to resign or be removed. The FBI is investigating, says it expects all 50 governors will eventually get these letters. They come from a group calling itself the Guardians of the Free Republic. They've got a website touting what they call their Restore America plan. On Wednesday, the group posted the following. They said, quote, after a year of face-to-face negotiations with high-ranking members of the armed forces of the United States of America, the leaders of the freedom movement have joined together to bring you a four-step comprehensive remedy, the Restore America plan. The group also says it plans to, quote, terminate illicit corporations posing as lawful governments. Their letter warning governors to leave office within 3 days or, quote, be removed. Doesn't contain a specific threat of violence. And according to the FBI, the Guardians are associated with the far-right so-called sovereign citizens movement. Also today, a federal magistrate in Michigan ruled that members of that self-styled Hatari militia will be jailed until their trial. So, question tonight is, how seriously should we take groups like these? I mean, some of what they say just sound nonsensical. That doesn't mean they don't pose a real threat. Joining us now is CNN contributor John Avalon and Tom Fuentes. John's the author of Wingnuts, How the Lunatic Fringe is Hijacking America. Tom is a former FBI assistant director. So, John, what do you make of this? I mean, what is this sovereign citizens movement?
The sovereign citizens movement is one tributary of the larger militia movement. It's been around since the early 1970s, and it's taken different shapes and forms, but their basic claim is that the United States federal government, which they call the federal corporation, is illegitimate, that it's exceeded its constitutional mandate, and therefore that sovereign citizens can do things like declare their own juries, have citizens' trials, and put U.S. officials, including the president, on trial in absentia. It has had violent outbursts in the past associated with it. Terry Nichols, one of the accomplices for the Oklahoma City bombing, was associated with the sovereign citizen movement. So it is far out stuff, but we've seen its likes before, and it can lead to real trouble.
Tom, do you believe it can lead to real trouble? I mean, some of what these guys say just sounds completely absurd, the idea that they've been having high-level meetings with members of the armed forces.
Yeah, I think right now, Anderson, the FBI thinks that, at least from a violence standpoint, they're not an immediate threat. So they've been trying to downplay these letters, and they just put out a notice about the letters as opposed to any kind of a threat advisory to the governors that received them. So they're trying to avoid giving them too much credibility in terms of being violent or in terms of making sense as far as that goes.
I mean, John, it does only take one, idiot with a gun or a bomb to do something, but I mean, should people be concerned?
Well, look, I mean, you always want to, an abundance of caution is, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Nonetheless, it does seem, we don't have the apparently 80-page manifesto that they sent to these governors, but it's going to be... I
can hardly wait to get my hands on that.
Yeah, it's going to be a real page-turner. But it is important to sort of take these folks in A, at their word, but B, in larger context. There is, when you really delve down into their website, you do see a lot of some of the oldest conspiracy theories in the book kind of percolating around the edges.
I mean, it's all the stuff about, like, the Rothschilds, the Illuminati, all that kind of...
All those strains kind
Jewish bankers controlling everything.
If you dig down deep enough, it always seems to end there. But they do view themselves as somehow defenders of the Constitution in a purist sense. But they're playing with dangerous rhetoric, at least. Now, one of the odd things is, traditionally, their opponent has been the federal government, not the states per se. So one of the things to look out for is why there seem to be tensioning their threats or targets or demands, actually, at the governors rather than the federal government.
And I guess, Tom, that because these letters don't contain really any specific threats of violence, then that obviously constrains what law enforcement can do.
Well, certainly, at this point, it's a freedom of speech issue. They have the right to send these letters out as long as they don't take violent actions or steps in furtherance of it. And I think the first question that FBI officials had in relation to this group, and that many of us had, is, are they also out in the woods with fully automatic weapons training for violence, training for war? And that's the difference. If it's a war of rhetoric, as John mentioned, you still have to worry about that because of the other people that might be inspired to violence just hearing the type of rhetoric that they're putting out. But at least so far, there's no indication that they're in a position to carry out violence against these governors.
Tom, appreciate your expertise. Thanks for being with us, and John as well. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Want to know if militias operate near you? You can go to ac360.com to see a map of militia activity state by state.